Your question, Tim, not your question. Why are you pro-choice?
Well, I have been talking to several people who are pro-choice, and they came up with the question, both lying and adultery are immoral, but they are not illegal. So what is the difference between lying and adultery and abortion and same-sex marriage?
Okay, well, first, I'm going to bracket the question of same-sex marriage because that's a separate issue, though I will say that anyone who believes that marriage should be a legally recognized entity, a legal institution, believes in outlawing some kinds of unions people call marriage. Anyone who believes there should be marriage is going to draw defining boundaries to it. So people who believe in so-called same-sex marriage usually believe marriage should be legally defined as a union of two persons. So they believe in outlawing, essentially, polygamous marriages. So the idea here is, well, why do we have laws? Well, we need laws to have a stable society, to promote the common good so we can live together and flourish as human beings, and that we're not living in some kind of savage, the Lord of the Flies, situation where we're all here on this island of humanity at each other's throats all the time. We want sensible laws so we can live together, and when we wrong one another, we can have repercussions, and that the laws instill a moral sense in us to know what's right and wrong. And you're right, not everything is illegal. There are things that are wrong that are immoral, but are not illegal. So, telling a white lie or breaking a promise to a friend, not all lies are illegal. Some lies are illegal. If you commit fraud, if you lie to someone about a business venture and defraud that person, lies that are tantamount to fraud or defamation or slander, those are illegal, and you can get in trouble, civil or criminal penalties. When it comes to adultery is still illegal in some states. Not everywhere, because the idea of enforcing laws against adultery might cause more harm than good and invading people's privacy. But sometimes laws against adultery are helpful when it comes to settling matters related to divorce, about who's at fault if someone commits adultery in a relationship. And the idea of strengthening marriage is good for society. So to answer your question, Tim, we make something illegal when the sin becomes serious enough to cause serious harm to other people. So not all lies are illegal, just those lies that cause demonstrable harm, like fraud or slander or defamation. Not all sexual sins are illegal. Lust, obviously, is not illegal. It'd be hard to prosecute a thought crime. But, rape, for example, obviously should be illegal. So when it comes to abortion, we would just have to ask, well, what kind of sin is this? What makes abortion a sin? And I'd say it's a sin because it is an attack on human life. It is the unjust killing of a human being. That's probably the most serious thing you can do. So why wouldn't that be illegal? That abortion, the sin of abortion, is not like the sin of breaking a promise or the sin of having lustful thoughts. It's more like the sin of serious fraud that causes severe harm, or like the sin of rape. It is a attack on an innocent human being that deprives them of the most important right they have, the right to life. And so the law should protect human beings at this fundamental level. That's how I would look at it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you. I had been reading material from another Catholic who was using that as an argument in favor of pro-choice.
I see. I would recommend when you come across arguments like this, especially if you're in a conversation with someone, to ask them, okay, what's your standard? Which sins should be illegal? Which sins should be illegal? Give me an example. And I'm sure, murder, rape, theft, fraud. There's lots of different examples that people could come up with, even things like harassment. And you have to ask, well, what do they all have in common? They're all attacks upon another human person. Is abortion an attack on a human person? I think the evidence is very clear that it is. And so it would fall into that category as well. If you like more information on that, in Chapter 12 of my book, Persuasive Pro-Life, I answer the arguments from people who identify as being Christian or Catholic who think abortion should be legal. You might find that helpful. It's Chapter 12 of my book, Persuasive Pro-Life.
Tim, thank you very, very much for that call and for sharing with us your question.